I worked hard to get to where I am at, right? And I've coached in 5 countries. I've learned multiple languages. I've gone multiple times twice from being an assistant to a head to an assistant to a head. Like for me, it's not about the ego, and it's not about the ambition to be the greatest coach in American history or the best American Premier League coach. My ambition is to create a path for myself that honors who I am and what I want to become, and staying true and authentic to that at the highest level. And the opportunity to do it at Leeds seemed like it was the right fit. So from here, where do we go? Yeah, of course. That's my goal now, is to find a place to work that I really love again, right? And what I say is, I don't need to work. I'm not one of these people that has to work every day and has to have a job. And I'm not judging anybody for that, but that's not me.
But you're still driven, aren't you?
Yeah, but I want to be somewhere where I love to work, where when I go to work every day, I walk in and go, this is awesome. This is right where I want to be. And I'm not doing it unless I find that again.
Because the formulaic reaction would be, I suppose, and you brought it up, the Ted Lasso image that kind of haunts an American manager coming into the country, and you addressed that earlier. Do you think that was a good thing to do?
Yeah, I think I had to.
Well, it was the elephant in the room. Just get it out and say it doesn't bother me.
And, I realized that I obviously knew things about English culture and English football and Leeds, but you don't know until you're in the middle of it, right? And until you really are experiencing it. This is the same as being in Germany or Austria or Canada or wherever I've been. It's like once you're immersed fully in a culture is when you really understand what the people are about, and then you can adapt and learn and grow and figure out how you want to be part of that, right? So, it's always interested me that people love Roy Keane so much and his commentary, and because I think Roy can be kind of an asshole.
Yeah, a pantomime villain at times.
Yes.
Yeah.
But people there's something in English culture about that sort of negative, edgy kind of cutting, that's the truth, And so he says it like it is. I will tell you, this is an American moniker. Our truth is that we believe we can achieve great things. We believe in ourselves.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
And when people want to knock us down, that almost drives us more, right? And so when I have positive takes on certain things, that's not me trying to be something different or trying to be American. No, this is how I feel.
So I agree with that. Having lived in America, there was always 1,000 reasons why you could do something.
Yeah.
In America, in this country, there's 1,000 reasons why you can't do it.
Yes.
So I get that mentality. But there's also sometimes with you guys, there's a shtick. It's a bit snake oil salesman-y. When you're telling somebody something that clearly isn't what it is, I agree with you. The underlying humor in this country is negative. It's at other people's expense. No one laughs more than when someone falls over flat on their face. And there's also a culture in this country, in England, of envy. They rather than admire
That's
people.
sad.
I think it's sad. And I think it's...
And it's pathetic.
I agree. I don't like it.
It is.
But I don't necessarily agree with you that Roy Keane's approach is to deride people. I think the reasons why people like Roy Keane, and to some extent the media stuff that I do, is because it's straight down the barrel and it's authentic.
Well, it's his version
and it might
of
be it might be misguided. But what it is it isn't treading a politically correct line. It isn't trying to make a popular opinion. It's calling it as you're seeing it.
Again,
and if you can
as the way he sees it.
And I said, well, of course, everything's how we see things.
Of course, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah.
I've never been called a snake oil salesman. Never. In fact, if you went to Germany and Austria, they say, wow, he's a humble guy and he's straightforward and he's open. They'd use the word open a lot because they're more closed.
Well, the reason why I say that is because if something isn't what it is, and you're convincing people that it's going to get to that point and that people must come on this journey with you, there's an element of subscription about that. And there's an element of understanding that I'm going to buy this person's vision. So what you're saying is...
But that's any walk of life with any leadership at anywhere.
Yeah, but
there's an element of convincing. That's
I'm
a
not
German
worried about
word.
it. I'm talking about in football. Of course, in politics, in every aspect
even
of
in
life.
Football, of course.
Yeah, of course it is. But that's why I described it as snake oil salesman, because I felt, and I go back to my point with you earlier on, you said that's not fair. I watched you describe games, and don't ask me to be specific about the games, but I remember listening to you thinking this team doesn't defend well, it doesn't attack well, and I'm being told that this team is unlucky for losing these games. And I'm listening to it with you now saying that we didn't get what we got from these games. We didn't get what we deserve. And I'm a firm believer in life because I'm a realist, right? You get what you fucking deserve. That's how it works.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm a realist too.
Yeah.
Right. But my job is trying to impact an environment to try to become
and to
what I want it to be.
I get that too.
And there's a process involved in that. And if the process is not going the way you want, you have to then always be searching for solutions.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with
you
that.
have to be providing optimism for how we're going to get there. Okay. So
it's a balance.
Okay,
isn't it?
so
it's a balance between reality.
We play Arsenal at home.
Yeah.
Okay. We miss a penalty. We miss 5 unbelievably easy chances that you and I, if we're on the pitch, could have finished. And the game should end up 4-5-1. So what do? Am I supposed to go and say, well, it wasn't good enough because we didn't win? And if those players would have scored, then we would have won the match. And then we would be here and we'd have 3 more points. And that's, for me, that is not leadership. That's excuses and blame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I will never be about that. Never.
Because I think that's one of the things, I've got it here, about my response. Not that my response is relevant in your world, but we're in this conversation, so it's relevant to this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, don't you know the world that you're in? Because you were talking to the British media about the divisiveness of the British media and the misreputation. I lived in America. The fucking American media is pretty divisive as well. So you were making...
Not even close.
You don't think?
No.
Well,
there's a total tabloid culture here. Look how many papers
you don't think there is in the northeast of America? You don't think in some of the...
No, what you have is a celebrity-obsessed culture in America. That's what you have. But you don't have a tabloid-obsessed. Right? So that's different. Honestly, it is.
Okay.
It's more about, it's kind of like about edgy and negativity and what happened to this person. In America, we're obsessed with what did Jennifer Aniston do? What did Kim Kardashian do yesterday? And it's not, oh, why did she do that? And oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. And how does she have that money? And why is she wearing that watch? It's like, oh, what are they doing with their lives? That's why the Kardashians exist. It's equally absurd, but it affects the culture in a different way.
Okay, well, my observation at the time was, that the media in America is as divisive in my experience. You say not, and I have to bow to your knowledge because it's your country.
Yeah.
But I also said that I didn't think you were a great manager. In every dressing room, in every football club, there will be people against people. It's the nature of the beast. The object of the aim is to get more people on your side than is against you. And that rather than pissing and moaning in the media about what the press were and weren't reporting, win some more games, and then you'll have more people convinced.
Of course.
And that was my sort of observation on it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like, listen, whether it was Unai Emery or whether even Big Ange.
That was because I was going to say to you, do you think that the and it's interesting you being at Unai Emery because I made a note of it. You guys, these Americans that have come in here, and the resistance that's been felt, and you feel that Bob Bradley wasn't treated properly, and then there's this argument about some of the terminologies that Bob Bradley used, like we didn't get a PK, or it's a road game that was weaponized against him, and used against him. Do you think that was unfair and a characterization because it did happen to Unai Emery? Because Unai Emery got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, well, and look, when Unai came back, then he had a translator doing interviews.
Yeah, because he's wiser.
Yeah, of course, but it's also ridiculous, right? But
that's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
I get it.
You ain't going to change it,
He came here and he tried to assimilate and adapt and be everything that he wanted to become as an English manager or a manager in English football. And he was chastised for it, okay? Which I think was also unfair. Like, I'm not just pointing at Americans. Like, Big Ange, everybody loved him. And then when they started losing, they all say he says mate too much. And, so there's different things that happen where now when people want to be critical and they have the opportunity to be critical, they will. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But again, so what's my strategy? So I can either sit there and take it, or I can go back at them and go on the offensive, right? And this is why I brought up Ted Lasso first. Now, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Winning solves everything. Yeah. Right? Because then they don't have as much freedom to attack me. They don't have as much reason. There's not as much demand in the public for people to hear that. So I get it. I get all of it. I'm a realist too, my man. So winning cures everything in sport.